Good day everyone, it is Caitlin and today we are making an 1820s wrapper. Welcome. So, let's go ahead and get started on this wrapper. So I want to do something different than the 1830s wrapper I made last. I don't want to do a yoked one. I think I've decided I'm going to do one that is, well, okay, not yoked, as we kind of discussed, but not a bodiced one either. I want something that's very loose fitting. So I'm going to cut it almost like from my bodice pieces normally, but we're going to make it very full and we're going to cut the skirt in the same piece. It'll be a lot less sewing than the last one. It'll be fun. So as per usual, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of cutting things and hoping they work out. They usually do. Alrighty. Let's see here. So this is the fabric we're using. It's very neutral, so I kind of like it that way. So I have my fabric folded, not in half widthwise, but like lengthwise. So it's two widths of fabric. And here's my typical 1830s bodice. I'm just going to cut. I need to add about an inch and a half. Well, yeah, inch and a half to the front. Just remember that. And I'll probably cut a little bit at the top as well. I just want to get this situated first. Because we want to splay it out to get like lots of fabric. Make it very full. Not really all the way to here. And the kitten. And that will show up. Okay, I need that. It's not for kitten. Alright, you find the front here. I'm going to put here about an inch and a half from the edge. There's an inch and a half. I want this first piece to more or less be even. I'm sorry, did I get in your way? That was technically the first. Now I'm going to cut this off and lay it right there. Actually, that's I'm going to go back and kind of change these up a little bit because I really don't need the neckline or the shoulder seam that far off. So that's going to be the front. We're going to go ahead neckline. I'm just going to leave this the way it was. Got across here because we added that. We want to keep that. from the underarm seam, I needed it to be 46 inches long. I'm going to cut this. You have to make it slightly longer towards the front. I do need to remember the 46 inches because I need the back the same way. So this is the front two panels, essentially. Alright, so the front very heavily gathered, so they'll be gathered like that, basically. And you lots of room here. Hopefully it won't be too short. If it is, we'll add some ruffles. Okay. Alright, your foldings in half. We're going to cut, instead of cutting two of them, we're just going to cut one and we'll be on the fold. I'm going to kind of do the same thing as far as cutting this, but I'm not going to cut all the way to the top because I want the shoulder seam to be intact. Center back 55 inches. It's hard to do when you're on it. Thank you. So you're just going to do a little bit of it. Well, I'm going to continue going down. 5. Here we go. Basically right here. All right. Now, I'm going to straighten this out. Take this side seam. Oh. Alright, we're going to just match this up and make this just as long. Since this technically goes together. Just right there, perfect. Okay. So I just need this to kind of swoop up just a little bit. That wasn't too bad. Okay, cool. Sewing the two side seams together. I just do a running stitch all the way down. Because even right under the arm, it's not going to be fitted. I did one side, kind of tried it on. There's a weird bunchy thing, I think, where the seam kind of went out and then went back in, so I kind of straightened it up. And other than that, it looks pretty good. And try it on again, it's pretty good. And try it on again once I get both sides done to make sure. Shoulder seam. I have been doing a back stitch here because this is gonna be where the most strain of the garment's gonna be. Is the shoulder seam. I've also been felling this. I felled the other seam. I don't think I'm gonna fill the side seams. It just seems like a lot of work. And I don't think I necessarily need to. I mean, yes, there's a raw edge, but it is not raveling, and I've been kind of pulling on it and such. So I think I'll be okay. But like, I did fell this side. That's one of the seams. I think because it's on the shoulder seam, I wanted that line to be very smooth because it's the only fitted thing on this entire wrapper. So once I get this seam done, I will fell it. At which point we can cut out piping and I haven't seen some 1820s wrappers that have a closure all the way down, like it's buttons all the way down, and I see some that are open. I haven't decided what route I'm going to go. I think I see more with closures, and I really like the idea of a rosette, that, like rosettes down the front. but I think I've only seen that in silk ones, so I'm not gonna do that if I can't find evidence for it. But I'll look. I'll give it a good go. My initial plan was to do the piping around the neckline and all the way down the fronts before I faced the skirt. However, I realized that it would be easier to face it first and then use the piping to finish both the facing edge and the skirt edge. So now we're facing. I do have most of the piping pinned on though. And I just use a running stitch for facing. And here's the top of the facing, which is just going to get, again, a running stitch. And there's the edge of the piping. For the front, you shouldn't see it at all. No stitching visible. Alright, I have drafted a collar pattern. I'm going to cut out on the bias. I'm going to cut two of them. One for the top, one for the bottom. I could just cut one and then have the other one, and then make the other one out of lining, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it out of fashion fabric because it looks like I have plenty of fabric. Oh, I still have not cut sleeves yet at this point. We want somewhat smaller ruffles, about 2 inches finished. So let's cut them 3. That's going to be roughly about this, a little less, but not by much. You can call that one good. Alright. One of them should just about. You might want to cut a little bit more. I need this just a little bit. Alrighty. Let's sew those together. Hem them with just a little narrow hem. Alright, so I am putting in the collar. I took out the piping on the neckline because the more I looked at the original, the more I realized it wasn't attached with piping. I do have piping wherever the collar isn't, but I'm stitching this to the neckline, and I'm going to take the top part, put it over, and kind of hide that seam, and hopefully it'll sit more or less like this on, in theory. So I'm just doing this a back stitch and just piping as well. And when I stitch down the piping on one side, go back and do the whipping part, then I'll just go all the way around. I keep thinking I'm almost done because I'm at the neckline. This is usually what I do, the finishing touches. And I keep forgetting that I haven't even cut out the sleeves yet. So my brain's going, oh, we're almost done. And then I realize this thing doesn't have sleeves. Alright, I am working on sleeves. So I have a big sleeve here. It's kind of on the bias. I stitched it up. I put gathering threads at the top and the bottom. Top and bottom. And I have here cuffs. I've decided how I want this to go. I found an original. There it looks to be tight cuffs with a ruffle around it. I'm going to do the same thing. I just don't want to have to do any closures on the cuffs. So I basically made it 8.5 inches, which is basically just enough to get around the thickest part of my hand without it actually sliding off when I put it on. That's basically how I went here. So that's what this is. I have 2 of those, and I have a ruffle that's about twice the size of this, a little less than, that I've hemmed and did normal ruffle things with. So I'm going to put these right sides together, and I've just been basting this piece on because I'm going to stitch it for real when I put this. Alright, so this part I back stitch, at which point I can sew it into that. That way I have this basting line to kind of go by when I back stitch. So I usually use a back stitch to put in my sleeves, and this is not a particularly neat one. It rarely is for me in sleeves, because I can't be bothered to go the straight up, or the straight down, and the straight up, and the straight up. Yeah, that just takes so much time. and it's hard with this much bulk to get really small stitches when you do it this way. But it always seems to hold, so I'm not necessarily concerned about it. So after this, all I have to do is put in closures. I think I'm going to do one hook and eye and one tie, both of them being at the very top. I'm just going to tie it closed, but then have the hook and eye there for extra security. And then we'll work on the belt. And that's about it. Alright, here we are with the ties, which I just stitched down with a double running stitch, and now we're going to turn inside out. Or attempt to. I meant to make these a little bit wider, but I don't know what happened to my math there. But after this, we are done. Everything else is completed. There's closures. Like, we're good. So, I'll finish this, and I gotta sew up the ends on this thing. And then we'll try the wrapper on and see how everything fits. Here it is. So, lovely little 1820s wrapper. It works really well. I love the sleeves. I love how easy they are to get on and off. Like, I can just pull them on and off. But they still give that classic 1820s shape. So the poop isn't too big yet, which I actually really like for the 20s. But it's still kind of fitted through here. And it just has a little ruffle on it. I think that's just adorable. I am wearing my short stays and my wraparound stays today. Didn't feel like getting into the full corset. And with the wrapper, you don't actually need to. Collar, which is super cute. I'll show you the back as well. And this type of closure, where it's just the top and then you hold it with a belt, it's like my favorite thing for a wrapper because it's so easy to get on and off. If I like really need to get dressed very quickly, or not get dressed, if I need to look presentable very quickly, I can do this in like 2 seconds, maybe 5 if I have to put the corset on, the wraparound corset. Less than 10 seconds, I can be ready and presentable-ish. Still a form of undress, but presentable-ish. Fabric, okay, wasn't my first choice, but I do like this fabric. I wish it was a little bit more colorful, but for a wrapper that I'm not really going to be seen in, it works. And I think it looks 20s. Hemline, which you can't see, is a good length. It fits just below the ankle length. It's probably a little bit long for the 20s. I probably could hem it up just a little bit, but I don't step on it when I walk. That sort of thing. Belt is just wide enough. I can tie it with or without a corset, and there's still room to tie. Other than that, that's basically the wrapper. I kind of sort of quick did my 1820s hair today. It is not really put up. It is literally tied back with a scrunchie, and I pinned my curls and put a cap over to hide it. So this isn't really my real 1820s hair, but it works for the video, which is a good thing. Not something I would do at an event. Most of the time at an event, if I'm in a wrapper, I'm probably have my hair braided. And that's because at events, I wear my wrapper going to bed if it's cold. So I like have an extra layer over either my chemise or my nightgown. First thing in the morning, getting dressed. So like, just doing everything I need to do in the morning. Like if I need to get a fire started, to cook breakfast, clean up my bedding, clean the house a little bit. I don't feel like getting fully dressed yet. This is a good option. Getting up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, wrapper is very handy. Hanging out after hours where I want to get out of the full corset and therefore cannot fit into my real dresses, but I still need to be presentable because there are men around and other strangers. So wearing just my underpinnings would not be acceptable. And I don't like getting into modern clothing. Once I'm at an event, I'm in historic clothing the whole time. Even if, like, say I get there on a Friday and the event doesn't start till Saturday at 10, as soon as I hit the site, I will go change. Sometimes I'll even arrive dressed in historic clothing. And if I'm at a historic site, I am in period clothes. That's just a thing. So wrappers are super helpful for that. Like when I first get to an event and I don't feel like getting fully dressed because there's no public, there's no reason to be fully dressed. Wrappers are awesome. Wrappers are also great if you're pregnant, which I'm not, but I have plenty of wrappers, so if that ever happens, I will be well covered and well outfitted. That's really the only time I think wrappers are basically acceptable for outerwear is when you're pregnant. Which is so sad because they're so comfortable. And I can wear it without a corset, I can wear it with my full corset, I can wear it with my half corset. They're just so versatile. It's very, very nice. But that is essentially the wrapper. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I will see you back here on Monday.